Before I get started, I want to talk a little about the icons that I used in the previous bar graph assignment. And here they are. Here these icons are. I got these from Adobe Stock, which is available through the Libraries tab here. All the Adobe apps have a Libraries tab where you can download free stuff. Now, as it turned out, these icons came in as something called a SVG file, scalable vector graphics, and After Effects does not support SVG files, but Illustrator does, and so I had to put in a search term of icons, and so I found the ones I wanted, created a document, saved it out as an Illustrator file, and imported that into After Effects. Okay, let's move on now to the pie chart animation. Let's look at it. Watch that again. So you see we've just got a simple reveal for the title, and as the pie chart builds, you can see that the numbers, percentages, kind of appear out from behind the pie chart. Now there's the simple version. We can go look at my finished version. I added a vector file in the background for fast food, and instead of a simple pie chart, I used donuts. So this is the kind of thing that I want you to do with icons and other vector graphics. Help tell the story with these visual elements. All right, let's get started. Now we're going to create a new composition. Let's make it 5 seconds long, and make sure we're using the 1920 by 1080 preset. Let's go get that. There it is, HDTV 1080 29.97. That should show you 1920 by 1080 there. We're going to call it Pie Chart 2. We're going to call it Pie Chart 2. And now, in case it's not open already, I want you to go to Adobe Color Themes. And for me, here it's in a box. We're going to move this, like I showed you before, we're going to move this over into the list of tabs over here. And the way you do that is where it says Adobe Color Themes, not here in this white bar, but in this second bar, just grab that and move it over until you see the kind of purplish color in the middle and kind of the picture frame around the edges, and let go. And then again, I like to put it in the second position up here. Then you can drag it down a little bit till you can see the 3 tabs at the top. We're going to go to Explore, and we're going to type in Infographics 1. And we're going to scroll down until we see this guy right here. It's got a nice teal color on the left and an orangish, reddish orange on the right, and yellow in the middle. Let's go and create a new solid layer, new solid. And for this one, let's make it a 90% white. Again, make sure saturation is 0, brightness 90. And as always, we'll call it background, BG. Now we need to deselect the layer. It's very important that we not have any layer selected, because the next thing we're going to do is use a Shapes tool. I know you've heard me preach on this before, but if we have a layer selected and we use a Shapes tool, it's going to cut out a mask in this layer. If we have nothing selected, it's going to create a shape. So here, make sure you've got the ellipse shape selected, and then just double click to create an oval shape. Now make sure fill is set to none, and stroke is set to the solid color here. That's the second little box. And we'll set the stroke size to 240, and we'll set the stroke color to the red color in our color theme. We'll click OK. Now if we twirl down ellipse 1, we can change the shape of this from an oval to a circle. So we'll go to ellipse path 1 now, and I want you to unconstrain the size here. So you see size, there's the unconstrained button. Let's set both of them to 400 wide, 400 tall, and then we'll click on the constrain icon again to lock it in place. Now let's rename the layer red 14%. And let's just go ahead and twirl all of this up, and then we'll click on the add function and we'll go to trim paths, and you'll see trim paths appear here. We're going to twirl that down, and we're going to go to 1 second in the timeline. The last time we edited the end function, this time we're going to edit the start function. So if we move this all the way to 0, we'll just see how that animates. It's rotating counterclockwise, and that's what we want. If you wanted to animate this clockwise, you could use the end function instead. So we need to set start to 100, and then we'll set a keyframe, and we'll move down to 2 seconds in the timeline, and we'll set the start to 0. And we'll just quickly look at the animation here, and it's good. Now make sure you're parked exactly on the 2 second mark, and a little quick tip here for you: if you hold shift, it will snap to the closest keyframe. Just hold shift and drag your playhead and it will snap for you. Now let's select both keyframes. Again, you can draw a box around them, or you can click on the word start over here, and then we'll right click on either keyframe, go to keyframe assistant, easy ease. Now let's twirl everything up. You can press the U key, or you can just use the little arrow there, and let's go ahead and press the U key to reveal the start function. We'll just click on this word start right here, and it will reveal the 2 keyframes for us. I'm just going to click on either one of these keyframes, and that will reveal the Bezier handles. We're just going to grab the little dot here, which is the right Bezier handle, and we're going to pull it as far as it can go to the left. And let's preview this. So it starts at 0, ramps up very quickly to speed, and slowly comes to a stop. Again, make sure you're exactly on the 2 second mark, and we will close this. Click on the little arrow here, and let's duplicate it. Control or Command D for duplicate. And let's rename this yellow 54. 54%. Hit the enter key. And we can turn off the graph editor too. We don't need to see that anymore. And let's press the U key to reveal the keyframes. Now we have to do a little bit of math here. 100 minus 54 is 46. So we're going to set this to 46%. And let's go ahead and change the color now. So go up here and grab the eyedropper, and we'll click OK. And now if we scrub, we can see there's our second pie chart slice. We'll twirl that up, and let's duplicate again. Control or Command D, and we'll rename this to blue 32%. We'll press the U key to reveal the keyframes. Again, let's make sure we are exactly on the 2 second mark. And let's change the start setting to 100 minus 32, which would be 68%. We'll hit OK. And let's change the color to the blue color. And we'll start from the beginning, see how it looks. Okay, let's just select all three of these layers and everything except the background layer. And let's just move it down a little bit to give us room for a title above. Now let's move to the 1 second mark in the timeline. And let's add some text. So we're going to go up and get the text tool, and I want you to double click on the text tool. And we're going to just start typing here. I'm going to use the same text as I did last time. Let's make the color like a pretty dark charcoal gray. I've got mine set to a brightness of 20%. And if it's not aligning in the center, you can use the align function to set it in the center. You could also use the paragraph function here to set it in the center. You will have to click once first for anything in the paragraph function to take place. Click the little center icon there and it will center it up for you. Let's move it up to the top. I'm going to go get the selection tool and we'll just bump it up to the top. I'm holding down the shift key. Don't want to get into safe area. You keep hearing me talk about safe area. Here are the title action safe markers right here. And preferably I want it inside the second box, but for safety you could go as high as the outer box there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and turn this back off because we don't really need it. And now let's try something new. What I want you to do is twirl down on your text layer, and out beside text you'll see something called Animate. So I want you to click on that, and we are going to animate opacity. So all we need to do here is just set the opacity to 0. We're going to park the playhead at 1 second, and I want you to go down to range selector, and I want you to set range selector to 100 and click the stopwatch. And now we'll go to 5 frames, something like that, and we'll set it to 0. So you're going to see that it comes on by character. It fades on by character. We're going to change a couple of things about this. We're going to go down to the Advanced tab right here, and we're going to change characters to words. And also I want to click on the Add function here, and we're going to add position to this. Let's make just a little change to position. Remember, these two numbers here are horizontal and vertical. What I want to do on vertical is just probably set it to about maybe 20 and watch what happens here. It's going to start low and just come up into position. So instead of setting a bunch of keyframes, you've set 2 keyframes for these parameters. And you could add different things to this by going up to the add function. You could add, I don't know, rotation. This is going to be crazy. You would never really do that. But if you add some rotation and you make a change to rotation, this is the way it's going to start. Okay, there it rotates in, and it stops on the good setting where you want it to be. Now I'm going to take away rotation. That's silly. But the idea here is that with 2 keyframes, you can set up a complicated text animation. So I want you to experiment with this and see how you do. Interesting thing I want to show you. If you go to Effects and Presets and twirl down on Animation Presets, and you go down to Text, all of these have been created with this function, with this Animate and Add function. So give it a shot and see how you do here. Let's just look at our ending animation. So this is a little quick for my eye, but we're going to leave it at that just because it's practice for us. So it's kind of an interesting little animation. It works. Now you could apply this again to the animation of the numbers. Here I was using scale and position and opacity to bring these numbers out from behind each of these three slices of pie. So there's lots that you can do with this, and I think you'll find that it's a lot of fun, but you have to get in there and play around a little bit to really understand how these different parameters work. So give it a try, have some fun.